Yo guys, welcome back again today. And today we're going to be talking about Francis Nuya Kofi Goyoma, also known later as Kwame Nkrumah. Francis was born on September 21st, 1909 in what was then known as the Gold Coast and is modern-day Ghana. He was born to a goldsmith, which was his father, and his mother was a retail trader. He was born in the western region of Ghana in a rural village. He would eventually attend the Achimota School located in Accra, which is the capital of Ghana, and was the most prestigious school under the colonial rule. This school was a Catholic school, and he originally wanted to be a Catholic priest. He would go on to earn his teacher's certificate at the Prince of Wales College in 1930. Around this time, Nkrumah would become introduced to ideologies and anti-colonial resistant movements. Black nationalism would intrigue Nkrumah and led him to leaving the Gold Coast for America in 1935. He would attend the historical Black Lincoln College in the state of Pennsylvania in the United States of America. Nkrumah would further his studies and particularly study people such as Marcus Garvey, Karl Marx, George Padmore & Co., and W.E.B. Du Bois. Such leaders as Marcus Garvey and his ideology of pan-africanism and Black nationalism would really hit home with Nkrumah. At this time, Black nationalism, Garveyism, and pan-africanism had gained mass popularity with African Americans in the northern region of the United States. The great African American migration from the south to the north was in progress, playing a role in Nkrumah's experience. During Nkrumah's stay in the States, he gained many college certificates in theology, sociology, and philosophy. This environment soon led to Black associations and student unions. Nkrumah helped to create the African Students Association of America and Canada. He would work alongside with others from the Americas, the Caribbean, and colonies across Africa. The publishing department of the African Student Association was the African Interpreter. The department would focus on commentary of Black people all around the world and analysis. Nkrumah would also engage with activists such as C.L.R. James, Grace Lee Boggs, and Elaine Brown, who would soon be the leader of the famous Black Panther Party. In 1945, Nkrumah would depart from the United States to enroll in a PhD in anthropology at the London School of Economics. He would soon change his mind and deregister and enroll in the University College London to study philosophy. He would go on to focus and develop intellectual works and political organizing in London. He would also develop a relationship with Trinidadian-born George Padmore. Padmore exposed Nkrumah to approaches to Black nationalism and the ideal that racial prejudice was tied with the capitalist system. Nkrumah also published a pamphlet, Towards Colonial Freedom, which expressed his detailed perspective on the path forward for national liberation struggles in Africa. This pamphlet gained Nkrumah much attention and respect on the African continent. In 1945, Nkrumah and other legendary Pan-Africans from all around the world would meet up and create the Pan-African Federation. He was elected the regional secretary and also was appointed as general secretary of the West African National Secretariat from 1945 to 1947. He also helped coordinate the 5th Pan-African Congress hosted in Manchester. The Congress was the significant turning point towards the independence in Africa and the British Caribbean. Attendees of the conference included notable history figures such as Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya and Peter Abrams of South Africa. These actions by Nkrumah and other leaders would soon be known to the world as Pan-Africanism. This would propel Nkrumah to world fame, and in 1947 he returned to the Gold Coast and was invited to join the new formed United Gold Coast Convention. The UGCC was a political group formed by chiefs and academics. They wanted to take advantage of the weakening British control due to the Second World War. Nkrumah was not sure about the group, but used the opportunity to return to the Gold Coast and develop relationships. Nkrumah and 5 other leaders within the UGCC would eventually go on to be known as the Big Six. But with popularity comes attention, and the British intelligence had been following Nkrumah's popularity and movements since his days in the UK. The British intelligence suspected Nkrumah with communist ties. The accusations caused tension within the UGCC. Nonetheless, Nkrumah would go on to establish the Ghana National College without support of conventional leadership. And this was a step towards establishment of the first national university, later known as the University of Ghana. Nkrumah and his close friend Kumla would establish a newspaper called the Accra Evening News, which took aim at local elites and spoke of self-government in the Gold Coast. In 1949, tensions in the UGCC led to a split. The UGCC would now split into the CPP, or the Convention People's Party. Nkrumah would call for the people to push for self-determination through the CPP in 1950. The CPP pushed for a non-violent tactical approach such as industrial strikes and non-violent civil disobedience towards the British. The Association of West African Merchants, which was ruled by mostly British firms, were making goods too high for locals to afford. Middle Eastern goods, as well as Asian goods, were also too high for the average local to afford. The British would go on to blame Nkrumah and the leaders of the UGCC for stirring up trouble, leading to the increase of goods. Nkrumah would soon be arrested along with other UGCC leaders and imprisoned in James Fort Prison. They were all charged with investigation, looting, and rioting. Nkrumah was given 3 years in prison. While in prison, the CPP would contest legislative elections, and in 1951, the CPP party would win in a landslide victory for government. Protests would be led by the youth in the CPP, who tirelessly protested for Nkrumah's freedom. Nkrumah would be released and stepped into leadership in the Gold Coast. This would be a significant challenge to balance promises, vision, unity, and underdevelopment in some territories. Becoming prime minister would not be an easy task, and one of the first steps for the party was to strengthen and integrate political and economic ties with the neighboring British Togoland. Another key plan Nkrumah established was a 5-year plan to rapidly industrialize the Gold Coast, improving literacy through free primary education, access to basic health, and developing higher learning institutions. This 5-year plan required big finances, and 2/3 of the funding would come from the export of surplus cocoa or cacao production and tax collection. The third part of funding would come from the private sector business investments and international finance loans. With the plan being closely tied with the export of cocoa, the CPP attempted to encourage local farmers with economic incentives. Under the New Deal for Cocoa in 1951, the government brokered agreements with local chiefs. This would eventually fail to achieve the intensive goals required by Nkrumah's administration. Eventually, the government would implement mandatory cutting. Other ways Nkrumah wanted to speed up industrialization was with the Volta Hydroelectric Dam project. The dam was formerly proposed by the British engineers to help with the local mining operations. The project would be revived by Nkrumah and was intended to electrify domestic and industrial industries. Local bauxite reserves would be used to build the dam and would require the country to upgrade its aluminum manufacturing to complete it. Nkrumah was forced to take out a loan issued by the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. The IMF had many allies with companies in the US under the Eisenhower regimen and the aluminum industry. With Nkrumah trying to nationalize industries within the Gold Coast, developing relations with countries such as the Soviet Union, and empowerment Black nation speeches, the Central Intelligence Agency of the USA, also known as the CIA, would soon put Nkrumah on their radar. Back home in the Gold Coast, promoting the agenda of unity would not be easy. With trying to industrialize the country at a rapid speed, and the vision of doing what's right for the country versus individual needs, this would lead to oppositions in some industries. The CPP would also battle the Ashanti politically over the cocoa industry, which the Ashanti ethnic group had a lot of influence over. Yet Nkrumah preached for unity within the Gold Coast and all of Africa, and in 1957 he and the CPP attempted to gain support by national unity. Eventually, the CPP would force Britain to give the Gold Coast its independence, and on March 6, the Gold Coast was renamed to Ghana. Many accounts of people during the time states that you could feel the ground shaking around the whole country from the uproar and happiness. This would end the colonial rule of Europe over Ghana. In 1957, Nkrumah would marry Egyptian woman Fatia Ritz and had 3 children, Samir, Gamal, Nseku. He also had a son Francis Nkrumah from a previous relationship. Nkrumah would soon declare Ghana a one-party state and started to be viewed as a dictator by some. Nkrumah stated he did this not to be a dictator, but he understood that most of the people able to grow the industries of Ghana were the same people he just gained freedom from. His thinking was you could not hand over industries to people who had not been passed down the knowledge from their ancestors. So with this gap in knowledge due to colonization of the British, Nkrumah stated that a one-party state was the only way to ensure everyone was included until proper training of locals. Most African countries after re-freeing themselves from colonial powers were one-state parties, not just Ghana. Nkrumah would also introduce the Preventive Detention Bill, which gave him the power to detain anyone who opposed him, especially in assassinations. This bill was introduced to Parliament, and Parliament passed the bill, not Nkrumah. Assassinations were also carried out on Nkrumah, and one day he was walking to the office and a police opened fire on Nkrumah. In 1962, returning from Upper Volta, or modern-day Burkina Faso, and after stepping off his airplane, a bouquet of roses with a grenade was handed to a student to give to Nkrumah. The grenade exploded and the student died on the spot, while Nkrumah received fragments from his chest down. A man was accused and imprisoned for years, and from this point, things would decline. At one time, Ghana had the highest per capita income, but soon with slowing world demand for cocoa, a weakened economy, and higher prices in Ghana, tensions would grow. In 1963, the Organization of African Unity, or the OAU, was formed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. With the momentum generated in Ghana, many African countries were seeking to be free once more, like they were before colonial rule. The organization was formed in a political fashion to stand up against colonialism. Nkrumah also extended out invitations to W.E.B. Du Bois from the United States to move to Ghana to develop his ambitious Africana Encyclopedia. This encyclopedia was going to document all African history and the contribution and journeys of Black people all around the world. Shirley Graham Du Bois, W.D. Du Bois' second wife, became the director of Ghana's first national television network in 1964. Nkrumah also introduced policies such as the right of return, which encouraged African descent peoples of the transatlantic slave trade to return back to Ghana and the continent. He would also fund neighboring countries Guinea, giving them 10 million pounds. Nkrumah was trying to show unity and help create a state of doing business with each other. This was not the best economic move though, and further sunk Ghana into economic stress. In 1966, Nkrumah would leave for Vietnam to contribute to peace dialogue between North and South Vietnam. Days later, the Ghana military would overthrow his power and oust Nkrumah. His family would then go into exile. Nkrumah had only reached the Republic of China, then headed to Moscow under the support of the Soviet Union. He would then travel to Guinea, where Sékou Touré would give him a position as co-president. Nkrumah's wife would take the children and return to Egypt. During his 5-year stay in Guinea, he was visited and maintained contact with liberation movements members from all around the world. In 1969, Nkrumah produced a pamphlet titled Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, a guide to armed phase of the African Revolution. He would pass away in 1972 in Romania. Some say he was poisoned, while others stated he went to Romania seeking treatment for cancer. He survived 5 assassinations, tried to build a post-colonial controlled country, and created many enemies and friends. So yo guys, today we learned about Kwame Nkrumah. If you have not heard about Kwame Nkrumah, which I'm pretty sure most of you guys have at least heard a whisper of his name, he's such a popular figure in Black history, African history all around the world. Most people have brought up his name, or you've probably heard his name in your community at one point. And if you haven't, well, you learned about him today. Just understand running a country is not an easy thing, and making the right decision for everyone is not an easy thing. And try to put yourself in that person's shoes to see what you would do. So yo guys, like always, please like and subscribe. Turn on the bell notification at the bottom down there so you'll always get my videos. Add me on all social medias, which is Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and SoundCloud, all Afric Network. Yo guys, each one teach one. Please love each other, always learn from each other, always share information. Try to come to agreements and be civil with each other versus fighting. And until next time guys, yo, peace, one love.